Hi, my topic is parametricism. What is aesthetics? Aesthetics is a branch of philosophy concerning studies on the nature and expression of beauty or taste. The aesthetics of a building is one of the principal aspects considered in architecture. The appeal of a building covers the combined effects of a building's shape, size, texture, color, balance, unity, movement, emphasis, contrast, symmetry, proportion, space, alignment, pattern, decoration, culture, and context. The unique properties and natural beauty of wood and other bio-based materials make them desired for various applications including construction, facades, and interior design. A building should be designed in order to satisfy requirements regarding safety, serviceability, durability, but also aesthetics, assuring proper structural performance through the entire service life. For that reason, it is essential to understand the overall deterioration mechanism within the different levels of a building, including elements, components, facades, and for the entire building. Changes in the appearance of materials can differ due to kinetics of the responses related to material resistance as well as due to intensity of the degrading factors. Parametricism, the style of the feature. Parametricism is an avant-garde architecture and design movement that has been growing and maturing over the last 15 years, emerging as a remarkable global force. The term parametricism was coined by Patrick Schumacher. Parametricism as Style Parametricism Manifesto, 11th Architecture Biennale, Venice in 2008, who was a partner at Slayt Architects at the same time. The style addresses urban design, architectural design, interior design, and furniture design. Its impact can also be noted in product design and fashion design. Parametricism implies that all elements of the design become parametrically variable and mutually adaptive. Its most conspicuous outward characteristic is a complex and dynamic curvilinearity accentuated by a swarm-like proliferation of continuously differentiated components. Beyond such obvious surface features, one can identify a series of new concepts and methods that are so different from the repertoire of both traditional and modern architecture that one is justified in speaking of emergence of a new paradigm within architecture. The shared concepts, formal repertoires, tectonic logics, and computational techniques that characterize this work are indeed engendering the formation of a new style. Patrick Schumacher. Origin and history of parametricism. A digital revolution that has been growing for the past few decades is gradually unveiling itself in architecture and the aspects of life science and art. The emerging movement with its newfound ideologies deserved a new name to make an impact in global built environment, named for a budding architectural style. So came the term parametricism, coined by theorist and principal architect of Slayt practice Patrick Schumacher, who gave structure to an expression of architecture proliferating at the time. Patrick strongly believes that parametricism is the next big epochal style to continue to succession of innovative movements such as Renaissance, Baroque, Historicism, and Modernism. I don't think that architecture is only about shelter. It's only about a very simple enclosure. It should be able to excite you, to calm you, to make you think. Parametricism is the only epochal style after modernism, and other styles like postmodernism or deconstructivism were only transitional style, and they were the first reaction to the crisis of modernism. Patrick Schumacher. Parametrism is new style, architecture in style, urbanism, architecture in all scale, interior, product, fashion and furniture, also urbanism. I started out trying to create buildings that would sparkle like isolated jewels. Now I want them to connect, to form a new kind of landscape, to flow together with contemporary cities and the lives of their peoples. Patrick Schumacher, who was promoted what he calls parametrism, not merely as a useful tool, but as the enabler of an entirely new kind of architecture, a new aesthetic. Parametrism means no more axis, no more regularity, no more symmetry. Nothing that smacks of the great architecture of the past. Avoid repetition, avoid straight lines, avoid right angles, avoid corners, avoid simple repetition of elements. He advises in the defining manifesto he wrote for the 2008 Venice Architecture Biennale. Hybridize, morph, deterritorialize, reform. Consider all forms to be parametrically malleable. Stated that way, parametrism sounds as if it has more to do with taste than with problem solving. Characteristics of parametricism. 21st century brought about drastic changes, and we know life in the network society where communication is crucial. Architecture should increase interaction and information exchange and can no longer insist on physical separation as it did until now. Moreover, we should not push people through passages like cattle, but make sure they navigate quick and easy. This allows them to self-organize in complex matrix of differentiated spaces and enables multiple communication scenarios. Unlike the world of architecture that we are familiar with, which is made of cubes, cylinders, pyramids, and other classical shapes, the new technology of parametricism, which is slowly unfolding in front of our eyes, is filled with rather strange forms, like distorted and cracked globes and shells which resemble certain construction from the nature or perhaps even something from outer space. Parametricism is a mature style. Parametricism involves the rejection of firm tectonic geometric forms such as circles, cubes, rectangles, pyramids. Classical architecture incorporated the use of these elements in order to combine them into proportionate symmetrical arrays. Modernist architecture, such as the works of Le Corbusier, is a reflection of these rigid forms. The characteristic involves in considering any reposition of a rigid figure and would be considered a wrong step of parametricism. Negative aspects also include the principle of simple repetition that was a traditional characteristic of modernism, urbanism, and classicism. The characteristic of this time also allowed for the composition of elements in special arrangement to remain unrelated and disconnected, whereas parametricism encourages the flow between spaces and differentiation of elements. Parametric style is fluid in which squares, triangles, and circles are avoided. It encourages that all forms should be flexible and distinguished from one another at different rates at which they correlate symmetrically. Parametricism proposed that all special activities should communicate with each other. Parametricism shows that the new primitives are animate, dynamic, and incorporate interactive entities such as lines, nerves, and subtleties, which act as building blocks for dynamic systems. Everything is connected to everything else according to the rules. Exclude rigid form, don't work with them, lack of flexibility, repetition, per difference. 3 positive principle. Soft form, differentiation, correlation. Parametric architecture includes principles such as unity, continuity, soft form, differentiation, and correlation. We can also see some subsidiary style in parametricism, which are foldism, blobism, swarmism, and tectonism. First is foldism, coherence differentiation. Second is blobism. The third is swarmism. It applies to urbanism. It's about the particles which are associated in different ways, and you have swarm of elements that deliver variation and differentiation. Tectonism. Tectonism is the latest stage of parametricism. Tectonism is the only style congenial to recent advances in structural and environmental engineering capacities based on computational analytics and optimization techniques. All other styles are incapable of working with the efficiencies of the adaptive, structural, and tectonic differentiations that issue from the new engineering intelligence. They force its adherence to waste this opportunity and thus to waste resources. It contrasts to these earlier sub-styles. Technotism is embedding a series of technical rationalities that secure both greater efficiency as well as greater morphological rigor, while maintaining sufficient degrees of design freedom to address programmatic and contextual contingencies, while the overarching general design agenda remains parametricism pursuit of adaptive versatility and complexity. Tectonism pursues this with a much richer set of parametric drivers and constraints than earlier version of parametricism. Projects. First, Jiangsu Meuxi International Culture and Art Center by Zaha Architects in China. Second, Beijing Daxing International Airport by Zaha Architects in China. Third is Nanjing International Yacht Cultural Center by Zaha Architects. Fourth is 1000 Museum Residential Tower Zaha Architects in Miami, Florida. Fifth is the Pavilion Nitkandela by Zaha Architects. People think that the most appropriate building is a rectangle because that's typically the best way of using space, but is that to say that the landscape is a waste of space. The world is not a rectangle. Zaha. Why that style is beautiful? Parametric is that it's unique. It breaks all the rules of Fordism that has to be mass production. The fact that it's free form and focusing on movement of the modular makes it hard to be similar to each other, unlike modernism that focus on the geometric shapes. So it's clearly that parametrism caught the eye of people. Parametric building is excited and people can enjoy watching the building itself because the shape is flowing. References.